Rodney O Podcast. Check me out at rodneospeaks.com. So music is kind of like the universal language. Everybody loves music, and I do tinker around. I've played instruments for years. The first instrument I played was drums, and back in elementary school is when I started my whole journey with the drums. And I remember we were playing a concert. It was towards the end of the year, and at a concert, I'm going to date myself here, but we were playing "We Are the World" by Michael Jackson and everybody else. You had the whole group in there. And if anybody's a musician, there is these things called rest. And what that means is you don't play, but you got to keep track of the music score. So that song has like 57 bars or 60 bars of rest. So what you do is you sit there, the song starts, everybody else is playing, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. You get the point. If it's a slower song, then the count goes a lot slower. So being in elementary school, we're counting, and usually I think the percussion section, we had like 6 or 7 of us there, and usually somebody's counting. And I was usually good at counting, but for some reason during this concert, nobody was keeping track. And so they all looked to me and kept asking me, "Rodney, what's the count?" So I remember just listening to the song, and for some reason I felt like, oh, this sounds like it's bar 37. So everybody picked up 38, 2, 3, 4, 39. And so pretty soon, this entire percussion section during the wrong part of the song comes roaring in, right? And the band instructor is sitting there directing us and like thinking, what is going on? That this whole drum section is playing this heavy drum stuff in this quiet section. So she had to stop the entire band, turn around, apologize to the audience, and start all over again. So that was embarrassing in and of itself. But we did keep track the second time we started the song. But then I remember that next rehearsal, the very next rehearsal, she said, "Get the song out." And she said, "What I want you guys to do is throw it away." So I've always felt responsible of ruining that song for the entire band. And not many people I told about that, but I have told a few people that I still keep in touch with that were in band back then. But anyway, today's podcast is about music. And if you listen to my intro, that was written by a guy named Hunter Sumner. And Hunter Sumner is with us on a podcast today as we talk about music. Hunter, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. And so, all the music you hear during this podcast and in previous podcasts are from Hunter Sumner. And so, Hunter, I just want to kind of talk about music a little bit and kind of tell everybody who you are.
All right. As you said, name's Hunter Sumner. I'm 17 years old, out of Vacaville. I will be going to, I'm going to be a senior this year. It's going to be my last year of high school. I've been playing drums for about 4.5 years or so, producing music for about 2 or 3 years. And I've been playing music instrument-wise since I was little. And I don't know, I guess just music has always been a big part of my life. I play drums at my church, play drums with friends in the area.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And so list the instruments you play. How many instruments do you play, and what do you play?
So drums is my main thing, and that's where I put my focus in, and it's what I get the most out of, I guess. I started on piano, so I still play piano, and I use it for producing music. I play guitar when it comes to heavy metal. I'm a big metal head, so I'll produce heavy metal and use guitar for that. And then also sing a little bit. It's barely at all, but I'll use it for some stuff.
Yeah, and with auto-tune, I think I can maybe do a couple of things.
Yeah.
Singing. One day I'll be brave, and maybe I'll sing on one of these podcasts.
Yeah, when it comes to hip-hop, auto-tune is a savior.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think I could rap a couple bars there. Okay, so why do you do it? I mean, why do you produce music? I've heard your albums. I would say that from the first one you did to the last one you did, and I think I told you this, huge difference, huge improvement. I mean, you get better every single time you produce, and as time gets on, you really work on your craft. Why do you do it?
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. I do it because, one word, feel or feeling.
Got this fucking urge up in my skull. Feels like something trying to take me home. I'm screaming so damn loud, but no one's home. How long do I have to take this toll?
So I've kind of realized that that word feel has a lot more meaning to behind it, at least to me, than some might think. So feeling, not just necessarily physical touch feeling, but feeling as in like mentally what you feel, how you feel, I guess, like on a spiritual level, just a bunch of different ways you could apply that word. How I see it is music produces a feeling for people, for myself, for others, and whether that feeling is happy, sad, angry, confused, um, rejoicing, no matter what it is, it produces a feeling. And so it's always something you can go to help yourself. Whether you're in a sad mood, happy mood, you can always apply music to better your mood, to enhance it. It's just something I've always been proud of and enjoyed.
Yeah, and it's interesting because everybody has feelings.
Yeah,
So it's like
exactly.
everybody can relate to music, and that's why I said in the beginning it's a universal language.
Right.
But when you talk about you do it for feeling or feels, why is that important to you?
I think because, as we said before, feelings are things you go through every day. Everybody has feelings. So whether you're having a good day, a bad day, every day is going to be, you're going to go through multiple different emotions every day. So why not have something that could, as I said before, enhance or help? As music produces a feeling, then it could help your mood. It could bring you up. It could bring you down. It could do so many different things. So that's why I enjoy it and I like it, because it helps enhance or add to what you're already feeling.
Yeah, and so when you talk about that, I mean, you play in a lot of different places, a lot of different venues. Name some of the venues and things you played at.
Well, unfortunately, not too many places or big places yet. Just starting off like your average starting off
Yeah.
musician or high school student. I've played at, of course, my church a bunch. Play at my school, at other schools for events. Couple other different things, but mainly schools and churches so far. Um,
Okay. Good.
yeah.
And so it's interesting. You talk about feeling. You play at different venues. Is there any time that you really like saw this feeling come out in the audience as you're playing?
There was this one time I was playing for my school. We were actually on a school retreat up at Alliance Redwoods, and me and a buddy of mine were playing a song I had written called "Finally." And this song is a instrumental heavy metal song, and at the end of it, it's less heavy and more of this melodic light, just really like awe-inspiring, emotionally attached ending. And so we were starting to play this, and everyone, it was like kind of like a mosh pit in the front. But as this like nicer part came along, and it was still higher energy, but it was more melodic and calmer. Everyone pulled out their phones and turned their flashlights on, and started waving them in the air like they used to do with candles and stuff.
Right.
And they were all in the front doing that. And so it was like, you just kind of look at that. You look at that and you kind of think like, oh wow, they're having this feeling based on this music that I've written and I'm playing for them. So that was just cool to me, I guess, to see
Right.
that, so that I could put that in somebody.
Yeah, it's nothing like when you're playing, and so because I started in school, but I also played in church since I was about 11 or 12.
Uh-huh.
Drums, the same as you, and just seeing just people just being changed and being touched by music, and having the music come together when you're with a band. There's nothing like that feeling that
Right.
you just kind of see people reacting to
Yeah.
that. And so, if I were to ask you if music's important in our society, what would you say?
Most definitely. And I don't think it's necessarily because we try to make it important. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it, is it's because it's important on its own standards. So from like a faith-based standpoint, just because I believe in God. I think it's something that He's given us, whether we use it for Him, for other people, for ourselves. But I think that no matter what you believe, we can almost all agree that music is pretty much loved by everyone because they're drawn to it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's not as much about do we make music important, but music is something that's important just based on its own qualities and characteristics.
Yeah, and it's funny because you talk about feeling and how important it is. A lot of times when, especially when maybe something old school comes on and there's older people
Yeah.
and they hear it, it kind of brings them back to a certain time or a time period and they get these
Memories.
feelings and memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's so cool. So if somebody wants to play an instrument, somebody's who, whatever stage of life they are, if they're young, if they're middle age, older, I know people who started guitar, in their 40s and 50s and, picked it up really fast and done well. What kind of advice would you give them? Because, sometimes it can go out and it can be very expensive. I was learning bass and I wanted to spend a couple $100 on a bass guitar and I ended up spending like $700 and something
Yeah,
because
it's
I
a
wanted a
lot.
good sounding one and a good quality one. But what kind of advice would you give to people who want to start, and what kind of encouragement would you give them if they feel like it's kind of difficult to start learning?
Yeah. So when I started playing drums, for instance, at the time I was playing piano and taking lessons. So for drums, I really wanted to learn how to play drums, but my parents didn't want to shell out money for a kit.
Right.
I didn't have money of my own at the time. I wasn't working or anything, so I was a lot younger. So I didn't have money for a kit of my own. So if I was going to get one, it was going to be either by me working and getting money for it, or by them helping me out. So at the time, I really wanted to do this, but they weren't going to shell it out if I wasn't going to actually be practicing and serious about this. Maybe it was just like a little phase or something.
Right.
So what we did is I took a rolly chair, right, with like a seat and a rest, like a computer chair, right. So I took that. I put a school textbook where you would sit, and it created this like loud clap sound, right?
Right.
And then I used the backrest of the chair as my hi-hat. I would beat against the side of it, and I'd stomp my foot on the ground for the kick drum. Then I would start practicing beats using this little chair drum kit we had created. And so I'd be in there for a long time, just practicing, playing what I could. I knew nothing about the drums, but I was just screwing around, trying to figure stuff out. And my parents saw that I was always doing this, and they're like, okay, well, maybe we'll get him a kit and see how he does. So they got me an electric kit, and that's how I started, and it just advanced from there. It went from electric to acoustic to another acoustic, just because I was serious about it and I showed that I wanted to do it. So I think my advice to people is, yes, if you want to do something, I get that the initial cost can be a little bit expensive, but if it's something you really, really want, you'll be willing to work for it, whether it's working for the money to buy something, working, however it is that you're gaining your ability to play that instrument. If you want it bad enough, you'll get there, and you'll play until you're good enough to be able to continue going and advance your stuff, your skills, the things you own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. So kind of with all your music and all your talents, and you keep working on this, and like you said, you're very dedicated to your craft and to getting better and to making beats and making albums. What's your goal with all of this? What do you want to see accomplished? What's your kind of personal goal with your music?
I think the same as a lot of people in music. I'd love to be able to hit it off in the music industry. And be able to put a name out there for myself and let people hear the things I'm creating and share what I have. I feel like a lot of people want to share what they have. That's why, for instance, we're doing this podcast, right? You want to share things that you want to say. People, share their art because they want to, share an idea behind it. All those things, right? So to me, music is how I get in touch, I feel like, with the world. And that's how I want to share these thoughts and emotions and feelings, as we said before, with the world based out of the music. And so I would love to hit it off in the music industry, whether that's producing someone else's music, my own music, recording, playing live, anything in that category is always really interesting to me. And I'd love to just be able to share what I create with people.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about you and, kind of the advice I would give to a lot of people is keep working at it. If you truly love it, keep working at it because the attention will come. I know a lot of times people do things and they'll do things a few times and then get discouraged because, the views aren't there or the count isn't there
I've been there, yeah.
Yeah, people listening and things like that. But patience is really the key, and to keep working on it and improving, and it will come. Even these podcasts and the things I do, I know it will take time, but eventually the attention will get there. So thank you, Hunter. One
Yeah,
last
thank
thing
you.
is how do we find you? If you want to listen to your music, tune in. You've kind of heard some of the tunes in the background there and some of the tunes being played during this podcast. But how do people find you and find your music?
So if you're interested in listening, my music's on any platform. So all you have to do, whatever you listen to, whether it's iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, whatever it is, you just search up Hunter Sumner. And you can also check out my Instagram, where you could also get in touch with my music there, which is Hunter Sumner, all one word, lowercase. So that's the easiest way to reach me. Yeah.
All right. And so, before I close this podcast, one thing I was thinking of, one day we should collab on something. I don't know what we'll do
Yeah.
or,
I'm down.
or how that would turn out. But yeah, that would be kind of fun just to
Yeah.
mess around. And I would have to probably tune up my skills a little bit.
We'll have to
but
preview it on the podcast if we do
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah. It'd be great. All right. So anyway, thank you guys for joining the podcast. Thank you, Hunter, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So you guys go out there and check them out. Find them on different platforms, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.